everyone. I'm Jim Longworth. Welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the beautiful Cedar Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on. And later on, when the roundtable shows up, we'll get into all sorts of controversies with them. We have some great guests, important information throughout the whole show. I hope you'll stay with us. But where we want to start is inviting two very special guests for the first time to Triad Today who do so much for the community and the whole region. We're with us right now on my immediate right. Chris Gorham is President and CEO of Triad Goodwill. He's brought along a very special guest as well. Jessica Schultz is Vice President of Career Development Services for Triad Goodwill. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Chris, let me start with you. What's the structure of Triad Goodwill?
Yeah, so most people think of Goodwill as one big organization. We're actually one of 152 autonomous organizations located throughout North America, one of 4 in the state of North Carolina. I might argue the best in the state of North Carolina.
Okay. And you cover a wide area. I think sometimes people think of you because you have offices in a certain places. Well, it's just a Greensboro thing. It's just a Guilford County thing. Not so.
No, we cover 5 counties, our specific Goodwill, Triad Goodwill. It's Randolph, Rockingham, Caswell, Alamance, and Chatham County.
That'd be good news, of course. Later on, we're going to meet the president of Randolph Community College, so he'll be glad that you guys are on the show as well. Jessica, what's the mission of Triad Goodwill?
Thanks. Our mission is about improving lives and enriching communities through the power of work. And we achieve that mission lots of different ways. One of those is that we employ, advance, and develop over 430 employees through Goodwill's operations. And then our community we serve through providing a variety of training and job placement services. We want to help people thrive, and whatever that looks like for them, and work is a powerful engine to make those things happen.
And different for everybody.
Absolutely.
Which is important that you guys are good listeners too. Chris, I don't want to get too far into the pandemic thing. We all know it's had an impact on everybody. But especially the last 6 months, what kind of impact has Triad Goodwill had on the community?
Well, like many other businesses, we had to rebuild ourselves from the ground up. That meant bringing people back to work. That meant different services, operations, streamlining some services. So we really had to, once again, kind of start from the ground and rebuild back up. But the good news is we're back up and running, and more importantly, we're healthier than we were before the storm. So you've heard that analogy. You weather the storm, you come out better on the other side. We certainly are.
Absolutely. Jessica, you already alluded to the fact of the types of things that you help people with. Are your services open to just about anybody?
Absolutely. They are. Most services are just open to walk in. Our center on Eugene Street in Greensboro, we're open Monday through Friday for in-person services. So anybody can call or walk in and let us know what they need some help with. And that's our goal, is to serve anybody on their unique journey. And that means connecting them to resources in the community if it's something that we can't do, but we want to walk alongside them and be their advocate and cheerleader that whole way. Yeah,
I think your organization, Chris, as they say, lifts all boats. I mean, you help one person, you're helping everybody, and it's not just a cliche. What do you think I know this is going to sound like a weird question, but what do you think is the best kept secret about Triad Goodwill under your leadership?
Every 27 seconds, because of Goodwill Industries, someone gets a job.
Wow.
That's people don't think of Goodwill that way. We are a workforce development engine, and we're operating on all 8 cylinders. We just happen to sell gently used stuff.
Yeah, and it's funded how? I mean, you have stores, right? People come in and you can donate goods, and then you take those goods and those make their way to the stores. People buy the items, and like I said, there's a whole cycle of how one person helps everybody, and I just think that's great. Before time gets away from us, look ahead for me a little bit. What's on the horizon for Triad Goodwill that we might want to know about?
Well, the sky is the limit for us. We're really interested in getting into skilled type labor job training programs. You might have heard the apprenticeship programs.
Right.
That's Goodwill, but for adults. And so we're interested in working with adults that ultimately need to reskill themselves so that they can get those jobs that come across $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So we're excited that we're investing into our infrastructure mission-wise to be able to provide an opportunity for people to make really good money and support themselves and their families.
I just think that's great. And I want to put up on screen triadgoodwill.org. It's very important. Take a look at this. It's a great website. It has a lot of great information. It will send you all sorts of places that you can learn more about what Chris and Jessica were talking about with workforce development and so much more. Please support the stores. Please donate. And I thank you all for being here for the first time. I look forward to having you again later.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, an appropriate time, an appropriate month, an appropriate place to talk about heart health, taking care of yourself, and we do that with an expert in the field. He's with me right now. Dr. Kunal Sangha is an interventional cardiologist with Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist. Thanks for taking time to be with us, Doc.
Thanks for having me.
What is preventive cardiology?
So preventive cardiology, you can consider like a subspecialty of cardiology. Its primary focus is on taking risk factors and taking potential disease states that can lead someone to having heart disease and saying, hey, how can we treat that early to prevent you from having, your first heart attack or your first stroke? And even it's not limited to those who haven't had it. If you have had heart disease, it's about saying, hey, what can we do to prevent you from having your next event?
Well, it sounds like a great program, a great service to be able to do that. But I guess my question is, who among us would be good candidates for a visit to you?
In general, if you have a concern, it should be brought up. You know your body best, you know your health best. But if you do have risk factors, you smoke, diabetic, family history, you're concerned about the types of symptoms you're having, all of those people should come see a cardiologist or a preventive cardiologist specifically.
Help me with some of the signs and symptoms of cardiovascular disease. Give me some examples.
Yeah, so if you are having, chest pain, chest pressure, with activity, you're noticing you're holding on to some fluid, your blood pressure's up, your legs are a little swollen, having trouble breathing. And then some of the smaller symptoms that people don't necessarily notice is that you're not able to do the same types of things you were able to do. Someone that used to be able to go grocery shopping but can't because they're just feeling run down, to someone who runs a 5K but can't do that too. All that whole spectrum of people should be worried about their heart.
And of course, sometimes that's related to just age. You're not doing, you slow down a little bit, whatever. But that's another good reason maybe to come and see someone like you, because then you can sort of help determine, well, it's not just the fact that you're 10 years older, you've got this problem or that problem, right?
Exactly, and then we're able to head it off early, and then we can prevent something from happening to you later.
How prevalent is cardiovascular disease, either in this area or around the country? I mean, do you have a handle on that?
Yeah, both in the world and the U.S., and North Carolina is not exempt from it. Cardiovascular disease, one of the most prevalent disease states there is. It's still the leading cause of death here in the United States of America. And it's something that is a detriment to the patient themselves, their family, and the healthcare system.
What are some changes that we can all make in our lives, especially those if they might be at risk? What are some changes we can make to our lifestyle to avoid getting these problems?
Consistent change is what's important. As you hear so often people saying, I want to make the drastic change and change overnight, but that can't happen. You're born with your body, you're born with what you have, but it's about what can I do for long-term staying away from smoking, long-term good control of any other health conditions you may have, diabetes, focusing on getting out and being active 3 to 5 days a week, really looking at what you're eating and the types of things that you're putting in your body and saying, hey, how can I turn around and make that a little bit better?
And you don't have to, if you're an old guy like me, you don't have to run a 5K. At least walking is okay.
Exactly. It's about putting that stress on your heart and saying, hey, I feel like I've pushed myself today. Pushing yourself versus pushing myself versus someone else, it's all different. But you're pushing yourself, it's all the same on the heart.
Well, I just think that's great advice. I appreciate you giving that to us. And I want to put up a general website on screen. The general website is still wakehealth.edu, where you can get information about Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist, all the great things they do and the services and programs and groups that they offer for things like this. And Doc, I appreciate everything you do, and I hope you'll come back sometime.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and always glad when we can catch up with this young lady. We've had her on the show before with dogs. This time, she's just by herself. I don't know, the dogs didn't want to see me today for some reason. We're with Gwen Kykendall, who's co-owner of Goose Masters. Good to see you again.
Hi.
And of course, I'm bragging on you because you're also a co-owner of Kykendall's Border Collies. So I guess my first question is, we'll get to the Goose Master thing. We know you use working Border Collies and you breed them and train them to help, move geese away, Canada geese away, and this kind of thing when people have a problem with it. But now, since we're talking about the Border Collies in general, do you breed and train and sell them? So if I want to go buy one, I could do that too?
We sure do. Yup, down in Franklinville. We've got a training facility, and we train obedience on up to high-level herding dogs.
Yeah, so I may not want, I may not want to do any herding or whatever. I just want a nice pet. You can.
We
That's
do.
okay. All right, now let's circle back to Goose Masters. Just for people who haven't seen you on the show before, what is it you and your family do in Goose Masters? How do you help people? What do you do?
So we take the highly trained border collies that have been honed into herding birds. And, just recently I got a call for pheasants. So Goose Masters, though, basically keeps unwanted Canada geese off a variety of facilities.
Yeah, it could be, you've done it from airport runways where they can be a danger. You've done it in apartment buildings. You've done it on farms. And I want to make sure people understand this is all very humanely done. We don't hurt Canada geese, right?
Right. It's not chase. It's a very methodical, professional approach. They're simply herding, using their eye. They know their left from their right, lie down, walk up. So, yeah, very controlled.
Now, I think you emailed me one day and said that the Canada geese are particularly a problem during winter. What do you mean?
So this time of year, not necessarily winter, but the nesting is a big problem for obvious reasons that there's going to be babies born, and they're increasing at the rate of 17% every year.
And they get protected
And
with those
they
babies.
do become very aggressive,
Yeah, get
yes.
aggressive. Hey, I understand you're doing free demonstrations. How is that going?
Well, we're working with Pam Cook Communications. She's setting up demos for, board meetings to schools. And what we're trying to do is to show people not only the obedience on the dogs, you get to, meet the dogs, interact with the dogs, but we're trying to simulate what we would do when we actually come out and work your property.
Right.
Show you, hopefully that day you have Canada geese, so you can see the dogs in action, left,
Yeah.
right, lie down, walk up. But if you don't have geese that day, we'll bring decoys and show you sort of the same
That's pretty
same
neat.
scenario.
Free
Yeah.
demos. Before time gets away from us, very quickly, I know the pandemic's been rough on everybody trying to find employment. There are some employment opportunities with you guys, right?
There are, yep. We're hiring a couple part-time people through nesting, good with dogs, obviously, maybe some vet tech people that want some part-time work. You can't be a 9-to-5 person. We're at the mercy of the geese. They don't know whether it's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4 a.m., 10 p.m.
I know how they feel. All right, up on screen, goosemasters.com. That's goose-masters.com or 653-4100 you can call. Gwen, thanks for bringing us up to date on this. Good luck with the free demos. I hope people take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. We'll be right back after this. On Triad Today, and always glad when we can steal a few minutes of time from this gentleman, who, by the way, has just announced he's going to retire later this year. We're not going to let him, but he thinks he's going to retire. Dr. Bob Shackelford, President of Randolph Community College. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Jim, always.
I want to congratulate you, meaning sort of the universal you, your team, the partners, the economic development people, everybody around Randolph, because this Toyota battery plant has landed at the Randolph mega site. Just remind everybody, what kind of batteries are they going to make, and why is the plant so important to our area, do you think?
Oh my, it is so important to the area. We've been working for years to get someone in at our mega site. Originally, we thought it may be an automobile manufacturer.
Right.
And we were close to that 4 years ago, and they chose Alabama, but we kept working, and now they're bringing in this battery plant, building these lithium batteries for the electric cars. You hear on the news that all the cars are going to be electric in a few years.
Yeah.
Well, that's a special kind of battery, and it takes a special kind of manufacturing to make them. And so this is going to be a huge plant. They're actually coming in and investing $1.3 billion to build this plant, hiring 1,750 people at an average of $62,000 per employee.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to say something about that. It's great to say somebody's going to hire 1,700 people, but yet And yet, Randolph Community College, under your leadership, you guys are going to play a pretty significant role, not just in welcoming them here, but helping them sustain the workforce, right?
Right. When a company like this makes a choice about where they want to locate, it's a very lengthy, detailed, complicated process. They look at business climate, they look at transportation availability, they look at all that. But the two main things they look at are the tax breaks and incentives
Right.
that they're going to get. And for a long time, North Carolina didn't play, and that's why all the car dealers everywhere else. But the incentives, but right along with it is the availability of a quality workforce.
Yeah, the labor pool.
That is huge in their decision. And so that's why I was on the committee and have spoken to these people a number of times as part of the process of our getting them here.
Well, I know you guys at Randolph Community College are good at adapting and getting input from and helping industries all over the area to say, okay, what do you need? What kind of folks do you need, and how can we adapt the curriculum? Which brings me to this very quickly. I mean, are you going to have to come up with a whole new curriculum to help make sure they can sustain the kind of workforce they want at this kind of a specialized plant? Or have you already got it covered? Is it going to fall under something else?
Well, that's a great question. What we will have to do is we will start at the other end. We will start with Toyota and say, what are the skill sets that you need? And they are working on that now and will be very specific with us later in the spring. Then we work back from that and say, okay, that's what we'll develop. We're not going to develop programs and say, we hope this helps.
Right.
We're going to see what they need. And then we're the host college because we're the county in which it exists, but we're going to be working regionally with all the community colleges and universities, places like A&T and NC State. We'll be providing engineers, we'll be providing all kind of technicians.
And other community colleges like GTCC, I mean,
they'll all be a part of it. When you think we complement each other, we don't all offer the same things. There's some we offer together, but then GTCC has the aviation, Davidson has the truck driving, so transportation and logistics is a huge part of this. We have the advanced manufacturing, robotics. We're gonna work together so that we're not just stepping on each other and competing. They don't want that, and we'll never get to phase two. Phase two, by the way, will be $3 billion and 3,800 employees.
It's just amazing. It's astounding, and I'm just so glad you helped work on that to bring it here. Up on screen, randolph.edu is the general website for the college, and when you come back in March, we'll talk more about things going on at the college, but I know we wanted to talk about Toyota, and appreciate you doing that.
Glad to do it. We're excited about it.
All right. We'll be right back. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable. Another quick shout out to the good folks at Senior Botanical Garden for having us here. Check out their website, check out the garden. And we have Girl Scout cookies to give out today, thanks to Carolina, Girl Scouts Carolina's Peaks to Piedmont. And we'll munch on those pretty soon. We appreciate that. Before we get going, one sad note to report. Carolyn Coleman passed away at age 79. She was a longtime county commissioner, first African-American woman to be chairman of that commission. She first appeared on Triad Today back in 2009. What a great lady, what a great role model. Speaking of Girl Scouts, what a great role model to all girls everywhere. Carolyn Coleman will be missed. Now, to the roundtable. On my right, but always political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster journalist, the great president, CEO of Ashtay Products. Taylor Woods is with us here today, a special guest. And then rounding out the group, Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. All right, guys and gals, this first topic is pretty sad. We now know that on the day police found patients in need of emergency care at a Thomasville nursing home, there was only one nurse and two nursing assistants on staff to care for 98 patients. In light of this, should the state put regulations in place to impose minimum staffing ratios for nursing homes? Ogie.
You know, I'm wondering why there aren't already minimum standards at nursing
They're not.
facilities.
They're suggested standards.
That's weird.
Yeah,
It should
suggested.
be in law.
Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was a terrible incident. I feel as though there should definitely be standards, but then we also need to figure out how are we going to hold them accountable to it.
Yeah, and of course the ratios would change depending on your census levels of people. I get that, but still there needs to be the minimum in there. Keith, what do you think?
This is an ongoing problem in nursing homes where elderly are being mistreated. There absolutely has to be some standard and accountability.
Yeah, and there was no proof that the two deaths reported had to do with lack of staffing. However, police found 2 people in need of emergency care, had to take them to the hospital, so that.
If you only got one nurse, what else could it be?
Yeah. In a recent poll, nearly half of all Democrats say anyone refusing to be vaccinated against COVID should be moved to a temporary detention center, while 60% say that they at least ought to be kept at home. Good ideas or bad ideas, Ogie?
Well, it's a great idea. It doesn't go far enough, though. I think we ought to give them a state like Wyoming or a sparsely populated, move them all there, call it Trumplandia, and just let them matriculate amongst each other.
Should we detain people that won't get the vaccine, Taylor?
I think that's not a solution at all. At the end of the day, vaccinated or not, COVID is still going to spread.
Keith?
There's no federal mandate. So there's no federal mandate on this. How can we move people? It's people's own personal right. They just need to wear masks.
All right. UNC Chapel Hill is one of the universities being sued for considering race as a factor in admission. They have for a long time, so has Harvard. Critics say that affirmative action discriminates against white students, including Asian Americans. Guys and gals, should colleges be banned from considering race in their admissions policy? Ogie?
Those poor white students. My heart bleeds.
Yeah.
Poor little Johnny couldn't get into Duke, so he had to go to East Carolina. But they let in all them basketball players.
So you think it's okay and the Supreme Court should let it alone?
Yes.
Taylor?
This has been an issue. It will always be an issue. I don't understand why it still is an issue. Affirmative action will always be a point of contention, even though it honestly shouldn't. I mean, the numbers do not support the claims that people make that it is an issue. The numbers don't support that.
Mr. Granberry?
Okay, so let me get these numbers right. 400 years of slavery, voting rights just enacted in 1964. Majority of companies are run by one race. The majority of programs are run by one race, and they're saying what? I'm trying to understand the logic in this whole debate.
Don't want affirmative action.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So it's still good to keep it in place then? Right?
Absolutely,
Okay.
keep it in place.
All right.
There's no equality yet.
All right. San Jose has become the first city in America to require that gun owners carry liability insurance. Got to pay for liability insurance. They say this will ease the burden on taxpayers for the cost of gun violence, maybe even cut down on gun purchases. Guys, would you like to see Triad cities require gun owners to pay for liability insurance? Ogie?
Yeah, I would, and I'm not being glib about this one either, Jim. I've been saying it for years. Treat it just like owning an automobile. Get a license, get registration, get insurance, and a lot of the problem is solved.
Should we do it around here, Taylor?
That makes sense, but I think I'd like to see us, keep in place our own current gun laws, requiring certain identification and age limits and enforce it first before we add on anything else.
Keith, liability insurance if you want to own a gun?
Yeah, I think you need liability insurance, but the people who are committing the crimes, they don't own guns legally anyway. I mean, we got to figure out how to deal with the guns that are illegally sold on the streets.
Thank you. All right, very quickly. Parents in Mississippi are angry that a middle school is offering shapewear to overweight girls in order to help them, quote, improve their body image. Was this just a case of good intentions gone bad by school administrators, or should we fire those school administrators? Ogie?
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that, Jim. I'm a proponent of the Body Beautiful movement, but you know that kids pick on overweight girls. They just do. And some administrator thought, well, maybe give them some spanks and it'll make them feel better about themselves.
Taylor, parents are angry.
I think it was just good intentions gone bad. I don't think everybody needs to be fired.
Keith?
I'm against both of those. They should be fired. I mean, this is crazy. There are going to be people who have different shapes, and they should be proud of their bodies. You should not make one person, just like someone should be proud of their skin color.
Right. I'm proud of my skin color.
That's right. What is it, blue?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. As I've gotten older, it's changed. Finally, speaking of skin, Oscar Mayer, this is for Taylor. Oscar Mayer is offering beauty masks made of bologna that will rejuvenate the skin. The masks sell for $5. Guys and gals, would you wear a beauty mask made of bologna? Quickly.
Yeah, I wish I were an Oscar Mayer beauty mask.
Oh, God, no.
Buy a pack of bologna, 12 slices for $2.99.
Save
Slap
money.
them on your face. Save a lot.
Is Ashtay going to start offering the bologna mask?
Look, absolutely not.
Okay, Keith, would you wear a bologna mask?
That question is baloney.
That's right. All right. Well, again, we appreciate the cookies from the Girl Scouts, and Keith, I think, is going to get into his right away. That's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Researchers in Israel say they have taught goldfish How to drive robotic vehicles. The only problem is the fish only want to drive in school zones.
I get it.
See that? You know, the school of fish. We're taking away the cookies. All right, we'll see you next week.